Hey guys, Will here. I wanted to kind of go over some of um, a Jehovah's Witness reaction to me getting broken up with over text uh, by the Jehovah's Witness elder, by him, discontinuing his Bible, quote unquote, Bible study with me, and by doing so instead of in person and in text. And I told my older sister about it, who's a Jehovah's Witness, and it was I guess it was interesting to not interesting, but to listen to her reaction. I told her about it some, and I uh, I told her I thought it was funny. Then a minute later, I was like, how about how about grabbing your balls or finding your balls and just having a conversation like that face to face. And she says, "Oh, that sounds more like how you feel about it." I was like, "No, I'm not upset at him at all, but there's also like an element of just me being who I am. I prefer face to face, especially for situations that are going to be a little bit harder. Just out of respect for the other person. In situation reversed, I never would have done something like that over a text message. But again, knowing that there's anxiety issues involved there for him and whatnot, like I have nothing negative against the guy for it. And in conversation about it with my sister, um, she says, "Well, you like to push back a lot on stuff," and I said, "That's fair. I do, but at the same time, do you just expect me to take your point of view without any reason? Like, am I just supposed to take your view?" She says, "Well, you don't always have to push back on things." And I said, "Well, if I have a different point of view, then then there why would you expect me not to voice how I view things and to then be able to have a positive discussion approaching both angles and just to figure it out, or to truly understand where each other's coming from." And of course, she has a little bit of a hard time seeing that because her initial reaction to all this is that, well, if I had just kept my mouth shut or if I had just started to conform, this is the impression I got, that she was saying if I had, not voiced my opinion, if I had just conformed, then it would have been fine. And again, though, yeah, if I wanted to become a Jehovah's Witness and lose all critical thinking ability and lose who I am, then I could have just conformed and become part of a cult. I could do that. Am I going to? No. And so one of the things that she said, she asked like about it, and I said to Sir something about that. So the elder I talked to that's from Maine that used to know me when I was Jehovah's Witness when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. I said, I did end up calling him. I mentioned this in a video. I did end up calling him and talking to him about some of this stuff, and I was impressed with him. I was surprised at his approach on things and how well adjusted he seems. And I said, someone like him who I think he could handle me. And she asked, "Well, why do you need to be handled?" I was like, that's a pretty good question. Why would using those words, why would I need to be handled? And so I explained to her that it's not a matter of needing to be handled, it's a matter of having a deep, in-depth discussion and conversation about things, and someone that's willing to do research, to look outside of their own bubble, and to try to understand where the other person is coming from. So handled in that sense. And then she said, "Well, why do you like to have some of these discussions?" Or something along that nature. And I told her, "Well, it's fun." And so she kind of took that to me meaning that it's fun to mess with people. It's fun to poke my eye in the finger of the elders, if you will. That's how she took that. And I've thought about that a lot the last couple of days. Just to, self evaluation. Want to make sure of the reasons why I'm doing stuff. And I got to say, it's what I would call fun is I have fun with a good conversation. Um, I've talked to many people that have theological degrees, and I always have fun with those conversations. I always enjoy them, and even if we don't agree on something, I enjoy and have fun with those conversations because it's cool just to be able to talk with someone on a deep level and to go into the original languages, to go into the theology, to go into history, and to figure out for yourself and to see other points of view on why some people feel certain ways or what words meant when they were said. I think those deep conversations uh, are fun. And I don't just say that just for biblical stuff either. I enjoy deep conversations with my friends as well. We get into some very deep stuff on a soul level, and are able to have good conversations, and we're not always going to agree, but here's the difference with the friends that I have is we can disagree on stuff but fully understand that the other person is coming from a different angle and fully respect and not and actually those are relationships I value more. Someone that can give me a different perspective. I value those relationships. I value those friends. I value those conversations. I don't just want a conversation with someone that just agrees with me because to me that's boring. That's not fun. Just have a conversation. Everything you say, everyone else agrees with. To me, that's boring. So, and I kind of was reflecting a lot the last couple of days on um, self examination, self evaluation, how things affect you, and also into motives for doing things. I've thought a lot about that in the last couple of days, and I especially after talking to my sister because she still talks to me, which is good. That's what I want. I want to talk to my sister. She's my sister, and but at the same time, she also, she takes the JW stance on a lot of it, and a lot of the conversations I've had and the stuff I've brought up. So I go back to um, self examination and into motives on why we do things and how things affect us, right? So one of the things I've realized over the last few months was that if I wanted to, I could be a pretty evil person. Like I could be very manipulative. I could I saw how easy it would be to completely fool and mess with someone if I wanted to. Like I can understand in the flesh the sometimes where there could be a temptation there to not always represent things in the right manner. And if someone were seeking authority and power over other men, I could easily have pretended to have a change of heart and to be a good Jehovah's Witness and to want to come back. And I'm pretty sure I could easily rise through the ranks fairly quickly within that organization, especially considering that they have a severe lack of for all the evidence I've seen, they're losing a lot of people and have a lack of what they call qualified brothers, right? So, one of my takeaways, and I've discussed this many a time with friends of mine, is to make sure that how and why I did things because it would be so easy to start going down the wrong path on the motives for what I say and how I say it, right? And I think that's true of all of us. I think we could all be very manipulative to one degree or another. Um, we everyone does that in everyday life to everyone around them to one degree or another. And so that's also why like I could have made this study with Jehovah's Witnesses last a lot longer, but there were some things that I just couldn't. I had to draw a line in the sand on some things. I like if it was just from a human standpoint, there's a lot of it I could have just brushed aside. But if we're talking theologically, there's some things I just can't. I couldn't abide. I couldn't live in them. I couldn't just pretend. And so that is one of the big reasons why the study was canceled by the elder. And I look at how stuff affects you. And so one of the effects I've had is getting to know myself better, but also realizing that there's a big part of me that's glad that this elder ended the study as well, because it was taxing to have to deal with it all the time. This guy sometimes was texting me till 2, 3 in the morning talking about stuff, and it was sometimes not easy to have to put up with it all the time, like, and not. There's definitely a part of me that's glad I don't have to deal with this guy anymore. I think I will start talking to the guy up in Maine, because I'm actually really curious to see his perspective and what he'll talk to me about. I get the feeling he's very different from the Jehovah's Witnesses I've met down here. So I think I'll probably talk with him. I think it would be a lot less stressful talking to him as well. But again, I just have a big question mark surrounding him. Because a lot of it just didn't seem to make sense from everything JW that I know. So anyway, I guess the whole point of this video is just to express that yes, it was definitely stressful, but rewarding at the same time to be able to talk to these guys. Hopefully, at the end of the day, the younger elder will protect children if he ends up coming across a case of child abuse that he's involved with. Hopefully, he will do everything in his power to protect children like I wasn't protected. And my takeaway also is that it could be, I can see where power could be very seducing. And if you're a sociopath that wants that, and especially if you're uneducated, religious cults like the Jehovah's Witnesses, they could be very tempting for someone that wants power. Because here you got guys that are in menial labor, washing windows, cutting grass, janitors, and they can get a taste of power pretty easily by becoming a Jehovah's Witness. And I think that can be a big allure to part of it is, there's an unhealthy dominance there that that the men have in that organization over women and over other men, over humans. So I want to also thank everyone for the support and the love you've given to me during the course of this Bible study. And I also want to say how it's so funny that it ended with that text. Like it's just like the cherry on top, like it's pretty funny. I find it quite amusing. And if anyone has any suggestions or questions on stuff to do, let me know. I'm probably going to start doing some more cart crashes again. Maybe not quite as locally. Maybe go a little bit further away from here. And I also kind of want to see, under the impression that word has spread in the circuit about me. So I actually want to go to some cart areas that I haven't been to before and see if they know who I am. Because that would be I'm very curious to find out how that goes, how they spread stuff like that. I'm not really sure, but I've definitely been given the impression that in the local area that there's a number of congregations that know about me and are warned about me. So I'm kind of interested to see, how true that is and how, I don't know, like I said, how that works. But anyway, again, thank you guys for watching, and y'all have a good night.